Welcome to Malcom Reed's How to Barbecue Right, a podcast where we talk about barbecue, share recipes, and discuss all things delicious. And now, here's your host, Malcolm and Rochelle Reed.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Barbecue Right podcast. I'm your host, Malcolm Reed, joined by my lovely, talented wife, Miss Southern Shell, been holding the fort down while I was gone.
I feel like I haven't seen you in a very long time.
It's been a week, hasn't it? Yeah, it's been a nice
Well, you were hunting last week. Locally, but still,
Yeah.
You were at deer camp last week. You came in for a party, took me to a party. The next morning, I dropped you off at the airport, picked you up last night.
That's right. Been gone.
So you went to Texas to hunt?
I did. I went over to Texas, to the middle of nowhere, Texas. I'm talking remote.
What part of Texas, technically?
We flew to San Antonio.
Okay.
And then I'm very thankful they picked us up at the airport, because my plan was to rent a car and meet everybody there. I never would have got there. We drove like 2 hours out into the wilderness. And it was like, I wouldn't have found this place. I mean, it's like 8 miles to the closest dirt road and then to the closest blacktop from once you get to the dirt road. I'm talking, you got to cross creeks, go through gates. And I was like, I could just rent a car there. I'd rented like a mid-size SUV, you know? Oh, no. I needed like a rock crawler, a Jeep or something to get back there where we were. There was no phone service. So you know what it's like, how great it is
I bet.
to not have your phone for a week. Like no calls, no text. There was Wi-Fi at the hacienda, but there was no, and it was spotty. It wasn't like it was the greatest Wi-Fi. If you did find cell phone service, like I called you a couple times, you had to stand still, like where you found it, and it would drop. Like, you know how the calls were dropping out.
You only called.
That wasn't just me messing with you, because we had a party going on.
I figured most of my my texts and stuff weren't even getting through.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, they weren't. I mean, we
soon as
couldn't
you
even
got-
like if you was in a deer stand, you couldn't even text anybody, come get you or whatever.
Yeah.
It did not work. It was just, we were surrounded by mountains. Well, I mean, I guess they were Texas mountains. No, I mean, to me, being from Mississippi,
There's something.
If it's a hill, it looks like a mountain to me. But it was the I don't know. It was cool. It was totally different terrain than I've ever been on. It's all rocks and brush and thorns everywhere, and boulders and stuff like that. It wasn't like it wasn't woods like I used to hunt in fields and woods. No, it was rough country. Like you pretty much stuck to a rock road. If you had to get off of it and trek through it, you better be ready, because
you'd hate to be stranded out there.
Oh heck yeah, there's nothing to live off of.
No water.
Like they had they call them tanks. So I guess what they do is they dig out these big spots and put some kind of tank in the ground, and then they would catch the water that comes. I mean, I think they had a couple like springs or wells or something to fill up, but that's where I guess the animals water. If you don't do that, I mean, this was on I think it's called the Saco River, but it wasn't much of a river too. I guess when it rains, maybe it's more, but this time of year it was fairly low. Like you couldn't float inner tube down there.
Oh, really?
But I mean, the ranch we were on had dammed part of it. I don't know if they got permission or just dammed it up, but they made like a real pretty spot. And so it looked cool. The water was beautiful, what I saw, but I mean, for the most of it, Seco, they told me it means dry. So it means dry river. So that's the way it was, but it was cool.
What did you go to hunt?
We were deer hunting, but they also had some different animals. Like they had axis and fallow and black buck and
what's a black buck?
Sheep, and it's don't get me a lot.
Yeah,
I've never hunted one. I've seen some. It's like it has the spirally horns. You know what I'm talking about? The little conical, and they get real long. Like I think they had to be 30 inches or so.
That's crazy. Texas has all these exotic.
Yeah. They were everywhere. See, a lot of this stuff, it was high fence, but everywhere we were high. There wasn't much low fence. Which low fence is, I guess, what we have, like a barbed wire fence. They would call that low fence. But see, I'm used to big areas of government land and forest and stuff like that. Well, no, that's not the way it is out there. It's like everybody owns it, and I guess to keep animals on it, or so they can put some of those exotic animals on it, they high fence it. And when we were first going, I was thinking it was going to be, you see these things on TV, and it looks like they, get online, pick out what animal you want to shoot, and you go, they tell you where he's at, and you can shoot. No, this wasn't like that. It was like, I think the place was, I don't know how many thousands of acres it was, but like once you went in the fence, you never really realized you were in a fence because you didn't see it. I mean, you saw a gate where you went in, and that was it. You got away from it.
And
it was just wilderness with like around mountains and stuff like that. And so you didn't like get out and stalk the animals or anything like that. We were setting in hunting blinds, but the way they would set it, you would either be setting close to water, or since there's there's not a lot of natural vegetation for them to eat and stuff. So they have to like protein feed them. And so you'd see these feeders and things that the deer would there was hogs there. I got to shoot some hogs, but it was, you never knew what was coming. It was like, you hope some animals come, and sometimes you might not see something, but sometimes you might see something that's awesome that you've never seen. And then, the weather was bad. So it was always like foggy and drizzly. So visibility wasn't the best. So it was like, there's a lot of times like you could see over to the next mountain or whatever. And so it cleared up some, and I got to see some animals like on the side of a mountain, but there was like, if I shot it, there's no way I'd get it. You know? Who am I kidding? Like I'm gonna hike off this one mountain, down this ravine, up another, and then up the side of this other one to get this.
You're no Ranella.
Yeah. I ain't no meat eater. I'm a meat cooker. I needed to be like out in the road, like where I was, because they would like drop you off, and you'd have to walk, I don't know, 200 or 300 yards maybe to a stand. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But it was always down like a rocky road. But it wasn't like this was some paved blacktop road either. Yeah. I mean, it's like rocks and stuff.
So what did you end up getting? I shot a pretty nice whitetail buck, just like the deer we have around here. Yeah. He was a 10-point, pretty good at, pretty heavy horn. And then I got to shoot a really, really nice, they were telling me they've been hunting, they've had people there hunting, it's called a fallow deer, but it was a fallow buck that was chocolate color, because most of the time they're like white or spotted. Well, they'd been seeing this one for 3 years and nobody killed it because they said he just wouldn't come off the mountain. Like he wasn't coming down to their feeders and stuff. I guess they stay up high. Well, one day I was hunting, and you hunt with a guide too. So I was hunting with a man named Mr. Jimmy, but anyway, this deer, he said, man, I think he's like, what is that? And I said, man, Jimmy, that looks like a fallow buck. And he's like, that's the chocolate fallow we've been looking for. And so it came in, and like, I don't know if it saw us or if it was looking towards the blind, or it knew something was wrong, and it just got the heck out of there. Like it was, by the time I could even get the gun out the window of the blind, it was gone. And so that next day, like we got back to camp, told everybody we saw it, and they was like, well, you ain't gonna see it again. And so I said, let's just go back the next morning, same spot, and we did, and it came back out, and I got to shoot it too. So wow, it was awesome. So, did you bring any meat with you?
Yeah. It's back. Well, it flew back in another plane, and I flew back commercial, so I didn't bring it back. But the meat is back in Mississippi.
So, what's going to happen to the fallow meat?
I'm getting. Is
it different? Is my question.
They say it eats a lot like just regular deer meat. Yeah. It's not. It's not a lot. It's not a lot different. It's supposed to be really, really good. But they're like, if I'd have got an axis deer, then they said that's the best. Really? And one of the guys with me killed an axis deer, so I'm hoping he shares some of it. So I just want to try it. But yeah, I'm gonna have the back straps and the inner loins from both deer. Okay, good. And then the rest of it, I'm getting turned into sausage down at Van's, my favorite sausage place in Mississippi.
How much Van sausage will we end up with?
I don't know. I mean, I've killed 2 pretty good animals, so it'll be several pounds. It'll be enough to share. Yeah. Oh yeah. It'll be several sacks of sausage.
So you came home talking about some different things you had to eat out there.
Oh man, yeah, we did. So the place we stayed was like a hacienda, like a full blown, like you were down in Guatemala or anywhere, somewhere down in Central America, Mexico, in this beautiful hacienda. I'm talking like they went down, took architects down there, picked out what they liked about some, and come back and built this thing in Texas. And the kitchen in it. You know me. That's where I want to hang out. I wanted to be where all the excitement was happening. So if I wasn't hunting, I was in the kitchen.
The funniest thing was the video you sent me. The thing that you like, instead of being like, "I made it, we're good, having a nice time," you're like, "Check out this walk-in cooler."
They had behind it, like how these big houses are. They've got like this big kitchen with the island, and then there's the wolf stove, and it was amazing. Well, they had a big giant butler's pantry behind that. It was like a prep kitchen behind the kitchen. And then behind that,
God, I'd love to have that.
Behind that, was this big, they look like a barn door where you slid the barn door and it's a walk-in cooler like at a restaurant. I'm talking full blown in the house.
With a barn door?
Yeah, with a sliding barn door. I mean, it was full size. Like, this is like what you would see at Uncle Bubba's in town or whatever, you know. That's the kind of cooler they had.
That's awesome.
So I was like, if I ever make it big, I'm having my own walk-in cooler.
Right behind.
And it was just like one
painter.
side wall-to-wall beer, and I was like, oh, yeah.
I'm in the right place.
I'm in the right place, yeah. But that was cool. So the man that owns the place is there. He's like, and it turns out his name's John. He's from Laurel, Mississippi. Of all the places, he's like, some Mississippi
crazy.
boys coming over there. Oh, we're going to have a good time. But he loves to cook. He spent a lot of times down in New Orleans. And I asked him what his favorite thing to cook was, and it was like, he likes cooking soul food. Chicken and dumplings, greens, beans, cornbread, stuff like that. But they also like love doing Mexican food. And he had his own version of rip that ran the place. I mean, for real.
Rip.
Yeah. I asked him. I said, "Where's your Kemosabe brand?" I figured he had to have one. He said, "You don't want to go to the train tracks around here." I said, "I believe you." It would be easy to lose something up there if you wanted to lose it. So between John that owned it, his number one man, a couple of the other guys that came, they were cooking like all kinds of stuff. So the first night we had this awesome soup, and I would have never. He told me to guess what's in it. It was oyster and artichoke, and I didn't get it.
Was there pieces of oyster in
Yeah.
it?
It was. Now,
Could you tell it was oyster?
Yeah. Once I got it and picked it up, it's like,
Yeah.
But it was like creamy. It was almost like a chowder, like kind of oyster artichoke chowder. But it was so rich and so flavorful, and the artichoke had just cooked to where you couldn't even really tell it was artichoke at that point.
Yeah.
But it was so good. He did his version of New Orleans barbecue shrimp one night. I don't know where he flew these shrimp in from, but they were giant prawns, and he did them up like in, this big, roaster pan with the melted butter and lemons and Worcestershire, all the good stuff. And you had this table full of bread. That was the best part, dipping the bread in the butter.
Oh, that's always my favorite part.
But then we did, carne guisada. I'd never had that. So I've had carne asada. But they did guisada, and it was so what they do is they cut up
so what's
pieces.
the difference?
Guisada is like stew. So
Okay.
it's like if you think of meat cooked in like almost like a gravy. Tender pieces of meat, and you make tacos with it. And they did like a fresh salsa verde that was fresh pico, all this stuff. But they took this chuck roast and kind of browned it up a little bit, and then they put it in, had like a little pressure cooker, because this was like cooking it for lunch one day coming in from hunting. And you pressure cooked it for a little bit, got it super tender, and then added this carne asada seasoning stuff, and it turns it into like in water. And it was not heavily seasoned or anything. That was about it. But it cooks it, and you cook it a little bit more, and it turns into like this thick gravy, almost melt in your mouth beef. And then you take it and you ladle it out, kind of drain some of the gravy off.
Yeah.
And you build tacos with it. They've had these fresh tortillas they bought, or some lady had made or something.
Yeah.
And they threw them on their little grill. And so you just had these fresh tortillas and taco.
When you're talking about this, I'm picturing like a debris style po' boy.
Kind of, but there's no vegetable in it. It's just meat. It's
Okay,
just meat,
it's just the meat and the gravy.
A thick gravy almost.
That sounds so delicious.
Oh, it was. It was really, really good. That was one of my favorite things I had. But then,
and you put like your cilantro and your pico and your.
But then so there were some people that found out that we were coming, and they wanted to just come hang out. They were friends with them. So I think the whole thing, this guy's. It's not like a super commercial hunting ranch or anything.
Yeah.
He just has a ranch for fun, I think. And so he brings in 4 or 5 groups a year, and that's it. It's really, it's like family friendly, or, friends and family type place.
Yeah.
But he had some, like one of the guys was a doctor that came just to hang out, and he wanted to make us a real like pozole. And so he cooked that.
What's a pozole?
It's like a Mexican soup.
Okay.
Kind of.
Like the Mexican hangover soup?
Kind of. Yeah. But it was like cooked down pork. Like he had made this broth with like pork backbone, and then like, cooked it all down, then picked all the meat off, put it back in, and it's mixed with like hominy. And it really had a ton of flavors going on. My favorite part about that is you dress it up almost like a bowl of ramen, because he had like mandolin sliced radish, cabbage, fresh, jalapeno, cilantro, green onion.
So you put it in there and
avocado, hot sauces. Yeah, so you had it topped. You had the bowl of it topped, and you put like a little ladle of crema over it, and you just kind of eat it with tortillas, like fried, like chips.
So you add enough stuff to make it kind of thick.
Yeah. It's almost like dressing up your bowl of chili or whatever.
Yeah.
You know how you have all the garnishes? Well, the garnish kind of went with the flavors, and it was really good. Trying to think, what was another? Oh, they did. So there's this restaurant that he really liked called Lupe's or something like that. It's like a Mexican restaurant. I think it might be a franchise type place, but I think it's a higher end one. And so they're famous for their fajitas. And he said, I think they're like $45 a pound at the restaurant fajitas. Like so you can tell that's the caliber of restaurant it is. I've never been to one.
So you order your fajitas by the pound?
Well, I think that's just what they probably call it. Fajitas are $45. But so he went and he bought the skirt steak they had from them, and it was super tender. And he bought their marinade, and he cooked it the same style. So you marinated these pieces of skirt steak. I don't know how long you marinated them. Took them out and grilled them like he had a mesquite fire, like a little fire pit, and built the mesquite fire, and because it was rolling hot, and then charred those pieces of skirt steak, and then took them off to his outdoor kitchen. This happened at another outdoor kitchen. We went to the outdoor bar, and he had like one of these Wolf built-in fancy propane grills. Got it hot, but he put like this 20-something inch iron skillet on it, and was getting it really
like
hot.
Like a flat skillet?
No, it was a deep one. It was. I want one bad. It's like it makes the best fajitas. And so he would and he got that skillet hot and then turned it down low just so it was holding temp, and he sliced up that skirt steak and threw it over in that iron skillet and drizzled it with beef tallow. And that made fajitas. If you've never drizzled fajita meat with beef tallow and then made a taco, like you don't even need anything. There was no vegetables. Like it didn't have peppers and onions and all this stuff.
Oh, really?
It was just fajita style skirt steak. Drizzled, and then you could top it with the salsa verde or pico, or whatever you wanted to put on it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like fajita vegetables too, but it was so rich. It had the marinade gave it like this, almost a citrus note, and it had it just had a lot of flavor. And I don't think he seasoned it. I think it was just the fajita marinade and that beef tallow, but it got it so rich. I was like, man, that's genius. I've never done that to fajitas. Because, normally we would just cut them up and serve them, but you throw them in that hot cast iron skillet, so it kind of sears them. They're still kind of medium rare, but they sizzle. They're not like well done fajitas like you get at most restaurants.
Yeah.
It was like the preparation of it was great.
I love the idea of using the beef tallow.
Yeah. Oh, and he warmed it up too. So he had this warm beef tallow.
So was it almost like a liquid when you put it over the top?
Yeah, it was straight liquid, and he drizzled it with it. He said, I bet you don't know what this is. I said, oh, I know exactly what that is. And it just left that, I don't know, that beefy flavor that, how bone marrow tastes. It made those fajitas taste like that.
Beef fat's the best.
Oh, yeah. It was so
stuff
good.
on the planet, yeah.
I highly recommend trying that to your fajitas next time.
I want to try it.
Yeah. No, we're doing it. I'm gonna cook that for you.
I wonder if you could use that same kind of thing, but put it on either a steak or something else.
I don't see how you could definitely do that preparation
like
and
on a ribeye?
drizzle that over
Drizzle a ribeye with it.
I think, what I think you could do, it would be really good, and I probably need to try this, is like do a reverse sear where you get your flavor low and slow and then have your cast iron over there just like you did with the fajita cast iron, and then throw it in there and sizzle it, and then once you flip it that one side, drizzle the whole thing with the beef tallow, and then when you serve it, drizzle just a little more beef tallow.
For like a ribeye?
Yeah, like a ribeye, and it would be.
So you're getting that charcoaly flavor and the crust on the.
Yep. Or smoked flavor, because you could set it there and bring it up super slow,
Yeah.
So do a reverse sear, but then drizzle with the beef tallow as you sear it.
I think you're onto something there.
I think so
Yeah,
too.
I think
It's
so,
kind of like
too.
a smoke a fried turkey. You're getting the best of both worlds.
We're going to try that. Might do it with some deer meat, like the backstrap cut into steaks and done that way.
That's a good idea
Really good.
Deer, I like the flavor of it, but it does have like a dryness, like it's
it
lacking
doesn't
fat.
have fat. Yeah. That would add something to it.
Yeah. Speaking of beef and beef fat, you did a Walmart prime rib this week.
I did. That's probably the last video of the year right there for Christmas. Every year I love to cook prime rib around holiday time. I think it just goes to something that says Christmas cooking prime rib.
Yeah.
It's great for serving people, but sometimes you don't want to spend, the money it costs on a whole prime rib, but a whole prime rib feeds a lot of people. if you just have a small family or a small get together, and you only need, a 3 or 4 bone roast, this is the option for you.
Okay.
And I wanted to see if it would be as good. Like, could I go to Walmart or any regular grocery store, buy one of these prepackaged cut down ribeye roast is what it is, or piece of section of prime rib. It's about, I would say, about 3 or 4 bones big. It was $65, so it's not cheap.
Yeah, it was 5 pounds.
Yeah, it was 5 pounds. So I would say if you're cutting that into steaks, you can make 5 16-ounce steaks. So that's 5 pounds of steak.
Yeah.
That's about how much is, what size I'm dealing with.
Practically serving it, you could probably serve 6 to 8 adults off that.
I think so. Easy. I think so. A decent portion of, 10, 12 ounces of prime rib slice is a nice dinner size portion,
Especially when you're serving other stuff too.
Yeah,
and everything.
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
You got the potatoes and the, I don't know what else.
The
green beans
the Brussels sprouts, whatever, green beans, all the stuff that goes with it, salad. But yeah, so that was, I was thinking, can I tell you, so it's basically like a quarter prime rib. And when you find these in the grocery store, you got to kind of look through them a little bit because some might be the end quarter, some might be the center quarter. I like the center quarter because I know it gives me some good spinalis.
Well, how do you know it's the center quarter?
You can kind of tell by if it rounded off, like it come off the tail end, you know what I mean? But I always want the heavier spinalis. So the heavier spinalis on that prime rib roast is going to be up closer to the chuck or the shoulder end of it instead of back towards the hind quarter end of it. It tails out, and you end up with more just the heart of the ribeye back there, or it turns into a strip. I want the piece that's got the separate muscles in the prime rib. So you have that spinalis that wraps, and then you have the little what we call the tri-heart in steak cooking, the center portion, the rib eye, and then the other little muscle that tails off in there. So that's what I look for.
And you went boneless too.
Yeah, and I went boneless. You could go bone in. They had some bone in ones, but I'm thinking when I pay, I'm trying to cook and save a little money anyway. I want the most meat I can get with spending the least amount of money, and so that's why I chose one that was boneless. I'm not paying for that bone weight. Now, I do like cooking bone-in ribeyes. There's nothing wrong with it. They give it great flavor.
Yeah.
But for this one, I was just going for most bang for my buck at, like, say, Walmart.
Yeah.
That was the whole idea.
It's easier to cut up, too.
Yeah, and it's easier to slice. You don't have to, like, if I'm doing a bone-in prime rib, often I'll cut all the bones off, like cut thin up against them, season the prime rib, put those bones back on, and tie it back on as I tie it up. And then I even tie up the boneless ones because I want it to keep that shape. Like if you cook a prime rib roast and you don't tie it, it has a tendency to kind of flatten out, and it doesn't. So what I'm thinking is I get a better looking piece of meat, and it kind of keeps it compact, so it cooks even when it's not spreading out, and you don't have that fat separation. So really good spinalis piece that you don't tie, that fat will separate and it'll kind of pull apart from you. So you want it to stay nice and rolled up and compact.
So why did you season it the way you seasoned it?
I really just, I love Swine Life prime beef. It's a great base. I put a little olive oil on it to make it stick like a binder. You know what I should have done? And I don't know why I've never tried it, but I'm thinking about it. I should have rubbed that joker down with Blue Plate. Tried that brisket method. How can it be bad? How could the mayo on the outside of if it works on a brisket, if it works on chicken or turkey, why wouldn't it work on a ribeye?
That's been trending right now.
Mark did some fillets with it and said it was
mayo
excellent.
Binders, yeah. This is a great time to talk about Blue Plate, a proud sponsor of the How to Barbecue Right podcast. It's the best mayo on the planet.
Made where?
In New Orleans.
Yeah, it's the official mayonnaise of the New Orleans Saints, if you didn't know.
I wonder if they're the first NFL sponsored mayonnaise period.
I don't know. I wonder if the Carolina Panthers have their own mayonnaise over there.
Did they have Dukes?
Yeah, they probably do. They don't. They're missing out. Every team should be sponsored by mayonnaise.
Heck yeah.
Are there enough mayonnaise
mayonnaise eaters unite. But do you think they have big tailgates of just Blue Plate sponsored tailgates down there at New Orleans?
Oh, I hope so.
If they do, we're going. We're just going to show up.
I've never been to a Saints game, so I'd love to go.
Yeah, but would you go tailgate? Would you go tailgate with Blue Plate?
Heck yeah,
that'd be it. Tailgate with Blue Plate in New Orleans. And it'd be po' boys. It is. It really is.
We got to talk to my people.
Tyler. Yeah. So tell them you got an idea.
The How to Barbecue Right Blue Plate tailgate.
If they play the Vikings, then I don't know if they'd get mad at me if I was pulling for the other team.
Yeah, let's go play somebody else that you don't care.
Yeah.
But you went olive oil.
So I went olive oil, prime beef, and then I made up I made up my own little herb seasoning. And, oftentimes with prime rib, I'll chop up some fresh herbs, garlic and stuff like that and make this kind of herb coating on the outside. Well, instead of doing that, I use dehydrated herbs. So I started with like some of my TX seasoning so I could get that coarse salt, coarse pepper. Because like a big piece of meat, dense piece of meat like a prime rib, all your seasoning's on the outside. So you got to put the salt, put the pepper to it to get the flavor.
Okay. Could you inject a prime rib?
I've seen people do it. I've seen them use like the garlic, like where you can inject whole cloves into it with the syringe and stuff. I don't want my prime rib to be injected like that.
Flavor that would work.
Like, say like a brisket injection in there. I don't think that. I think that would overpower because I want the beefiness of the prime rib itself, the ribeye flavor. But I want my seasoning on the outside so that when I cut me a bite, I leave a little bit of the edge to get me a center cut bite. That's what I do too. And it all blends well. But if you heavily season the outside, that flavor, kind of courses through as you eat it. So for the outside, I started with some TX, and then I used the Alfragone's chimichurri because it's got all the herbs and stuff in there. And I said, that's going to make it really look good on the outside because it's like cilantro and parsley and dehydrated peppers and stuff.
It's made to make a chimichurri, and it makes an awesome chimichurri. But we use it for potatoes.
I eat chicken, wings, prime rib. I put it on anything. Anything I want to herb bump to, I put that on.
I don't know what it is about the balance of herbs that he's got in there that's, I don't know if it's fresher or what. I don't know.
I think it just works because they like when you're cooking with it, they kind of absorb some of the meat juice and they reconstitute. They don't stay crunchy and herby like you're trying to eat, some dried up grass, or it's not like that. They cook down and they turn into just a nice crust on the outside. Also added a little dehydrated garlic and dehydrated onion, not granulated powder. I wanted the little flakes.
Yeah.
Because it was about texture. I had my salt and pepper and garlic element from, the prime beef, from the TX, but the other stuff just kind of makes that crust. And that's what I was going. It was like a herb crusted prime rib roast. So
it was beautiful.
Oh yeah. I tied it up, and I'm no fancy butcher tire. I just cut me some lengths of string, go around it, and spread them out and tie them tight. And it holds it perfect.
You put 3 there.
Yeah. It was 3 or 4, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say cooking prime rib is easy?
Oh, very easy. If you got a good meat thermometer.
Well, people are kind of intimidated by
it. Well, it costs so dang much.
Yeah.
Like this one come from Walmart, still cost me $65. It wasn't like it was on sale, or that's what it was on sale for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what is that, $11, $12 a pound? Yeah, it's a little over. Yeah. At 5, yeah. So that was, so you look, when you're paying that much for meat, it's intimidating off the start because what if you screw it up? So what I found is, one, don't overcook them. That's the only way you mess them up is overcook them. So invest in a, $30 dot thermometer. Those things are super accurate. You can stick it right in the middle and you can watch it come up the whole time and stop it and then just let it rest. So that's all I did. I put my grill on, what was it, 250 that day, I think. Do you remember, Tyler?
It actually was in the video because there's people in the comments asking for it as well.
Oh, yeah, really?
I think I was on 250. I wasn't on super slow because I wanted it to get done 2 or 3 hours. So it was like 250.
I didn't even notice that.
I had some.
Me neither.
I just had some hickory pellets in there, and I cooked this one on silverback. I was, I cooked it on a grill of silverback. And hey, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I'm not getting any kind of compensation for it, but they have. I saw it on Facebook. $675. You can get the Grilla Silverback right now, the non-Wi-Fi one. That's the steal of the year.
That's a really good deal.
Heck yeah! Where else can you get that grill for?
And it's a good grill. You like it?
It's a dang good grill. Yeah. I love cooking on it. I got the one I have now is the Wi-Fi model, but I mean, 250 degrees. Put some hickory pellets in there, rocked and rolled, and about an hour. Put my probe in, watched the temperature come up, took it off when it got to 120ish is what I look for in prime rib. In the center. That way it's got the edges maybe a little more.
Yeah.
But the center's going to be perfect. And I let it rest for about an hour.
Oh, you didn't let it rest that long. I tried to get you to let it rest an hour.
Well, I put it aluminum foil over it and let it sit out there on the counter as long as I could stand. I pulled me off a little bite of crust. It was
starting to get dark. And
pulled me off a little bite of crust, tasted it, and then my mouth got the water. I was like, shit, come on, let's just wrap this up. Last video. Let's wrap it up. Let's see how good it is. And I'm telling y'all, man, for Walmart meat,
it was.
Now it says it's Angus on the package. What did it say on that package? It wasn't like
Black Angus.
Walmart Black Angus.
Yeah,
Walmart Black.
Man, I ain't mad at it. It's not Kevin's prime, from the butcher shop prime rib or Wagyu prime rib like I cooked last year, but it's right up there
for $65.
For $65, I ain't gonna lie. If I wanted to impress everybody and cook something that was super special, yeah, I'm gonna call Kevin up and order something from him. But if I'm just wanting to cook something for us to eat on, and we did.
Some people don't have that budget either.
Yeah, I mean, who can spend $250 or $650 or whatever that Wagyu would cost?
Yeah.
But so it's a great option, and that's what I wanted to show. Could I cook something that's on the lower end of when you go to a grocery store beef, and make it turn into something that was just
that would you be happy to serve
that you could get at a fancy restaurant, or that you would be happy to serve.
I've been impressed with Walmart's meat this year, specifically their steaks and beef.
I have bought some ribeyes from a grocery store, and when you get them, they just feel tight. They feel tough. The mouth feels obviously not as tender as a good piece of meat that you spend money on.
It's way too red.
Yeah, it's way too red, but this one was not. And I was skeptical because when I felt of it, it felt pretty soft. And I think that's when you're shopping for beef like that, and you can touch through the cryovac even squeeze it. See how the meat feels raw when when you get it home and you're working on a steak. If you feel it and it feels super tight, it's probably going to be tight when you cook it. It's not going to get any more tender. You can get over that by letting it sit in some of the salts and peppers, or using a jacquard on it and trying to get it tender if you want to. That's just some tricks that I've used before. But if you start with it and it feels like it's pretty tender in the package, it's probably going to be pretty tender when you cook it. Now I don't know. This one maybe Walmart aged these and didn't know it. Maybe I didn't see a pack date on it. Maybe it'd been sitting there a while because nobody wanted to give $65 for it.
When you were picking
but it was
them
perfect. I mean, what did you think when you cut? So I know you were pretty skeptical that was going to be good. You was like, you didn't know about this idea. It's probably not going to be a good prime rib. I'm
skeptical about all your ideas.
But tasting that, if you didn't know, what would you have thought?
This is a daggone good prime rib.
Yeah, it was. It was. It was.
I mean, we ate it for dinner that night.
We ate some of it for dinner, and we made sandwiches with it. I mean, we still had a lot left over because I made
me and Michael a prime rib and spinach omelet this week.
Oh, really? While I was gone?
Yeah, while you were gone.
Dang, I was eating good breakfast.
Heck yeah. Get that protein in.
Yeah.
So I have one bone to pick about prime rib and I guess it's when we film it. Every time we film it, doesn't matter what temperature you take it off, when you slice it, it always looks
more done than
it is. I don't know if it's the lighting or the camera.
I think it's the lighting and the way it oxidizes. Because if you notice, once you cut it and it gets exposed to more air, all the rareness shows.
Yeah.
And when you first slice into it and you're trying to get that money shot or whatever, sometimes it does look like it's a little, even though I know it's not over. It just sometimes looks like that. But then you get some people that say, "Oh, that's way too bloody.
Yeah,
you don't want to see it like that. It's got all that blood. Why don't you bleed that cow?" I was like, "Well, if you think bleeding is going to get, it's just meat juice. It's not. It's not blood."
When I worked at Longhorn, that was like the number one steak that came back that was either overdone or underdone, and there was no in between. Like everybody would send it back. This is way too bloody. It's just,
and I think that's why you don't see prime rib on a lot of restaurants, because people fight with them constantly. Can you imagine all the sendbacks?
Oh yeah.
Well, when it hits your plate and if it's a little more red than you like,
or
a little more brown than you like,
100%.
That's right. Did y'all do it like what do they call it? Pittsburgh style or Outback style, the way they put after they cut it, they'll season it and then put it on there for people that don't want to see the red.
Yep. We did have Pittsburgh style. We didn't have a lot of people order that, but they actually ended up taking it off the menu, and I'm assuming that's why.
Because so
much waste.
If you ended up giving it away or having to cut another piece, you can't reserve that piece of prime rib. What are you going to do with it?
Yep.
Did you ever take some home?
Oh yeah, I love it. And honestly, I really
this was not cooked right. We're going to set it over here.
I loved their prime rib. It was like they did like a 7 pepper seasoning on the outside and stuff. Like it was delicious. They had great creamy horseradish sauce. I ate a lot of prime rib when I worked there.
And this is Longhorn?
This is Longhorn. Yeah. Now Outback does something very similar.
The Outback's always had it. You get Outback style or just regular. I don't mind that. I would order it rare Outback style. That way it had to be a little under, and then they would throw it on there with the seasonings and kind of just sear the outside real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Would they cook a whole prime rib daily?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. That was it was only available after 4 o'clock because just the way that it cooked in the morning to the afternoon, and it was just until we ran out.
And they always run out of prime rib. Every restaurant does that.
Yeah.
It's like we might not have it if you show up here at 8 o'clock to want prime rib.
Yeah.
It's because they're not cooking. It's not something you could
you
do
can't
anything with
it.
if you don't sell it all. It's not like you can hold it and warm it back up and serve it the next day.
And we served it like all the way up to 20 ounces. So if you have a 20 ounce comeback, I mean, you're blowing through it real fast because you're giving and then you're giving it away for free. So I guess I do understand why they took it away. It just stinks because it was such a good corporate prime rib, you know.
Yeah, Underground had a good prime rib here in town. I don't know if they still do, but
yeah, I think they still do that every Friday, Saturday. Really good.
I'm a big fan of prime rib. You served yours when we had it for dinner. You mixed up a quick horseradish sauce.
Yeah, I love the horseradish mayo.
What is that?
I use blue plate mayo to start, and then fresh horseradish. Sometimes I'll buy the private selection creamy horseradish and put just a squeeze of that off in there. Put a little hot sauce and some cracked black pepper, and just a dash or two of Worcestershire. And you stir it all up, and so you get that punch from the fresh, the fresh ground. Well, I don't guess it's fresh horseradish. What do you call it? It's in a little jar.
Prepared
horseradish.
I'll put 2 big tablespoons of that in there. And I've got some recipes where I've done it before on sandwiches and stuff. Most of the time I just whip it up by eye.
Yeah.
I might taste it a little bit and see if it's right. I want it to I don't know who thought of that, but serving horseradish prime rib is pretty damn genius. It goes.
I know. It goes really well.
I like au jus served with it too. Do you like au jus with it?
I want them both.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I want them both. I'm not a fan of horseradish at all, but something about when you make it a little creamy and mix it with that rare beef, it's good. So while you were gone, your official Kentucky Colonel membership card came in.
They said it was going to take months. It hasn't been that long.
They saw who it was, and so we got to get
this guy's automatic in. So I'm a card carrying member of the card carrying Colonel.
So I started looking on their website this week about what is the Kentucky Colonel and what are your responsibilities and duties
as a colonel?
As a colonel. Well, a friend of ours.
We have colonel meetings.
A friend of ours said it was the drinking man's highest honor.
The drinking man hey, I'm okay with that. The drinking man's highest honor.
But officially, they're a group who enjoys an occasional celebration.
Oh, not an occasion. A regular celebration.
They enjoy gathering and celebrating with each other, but the primary objective is to support needy Kentucky charities and worthy organizations.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Let me tell you some of the famous Kentucky Colonels out there.
Colonel is Sanders one? Harlan Sanders?
Yeah.
Well, that's actually stop right there. Harlan Sanders. They say he was a real something. He was not an easy guy to get along with.
We watched that documentary.
Yeah. Who else?
Trey Anastasio. You know who that is?
Fish?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah. Princess Anne.
Huh.
Mario Andretti.
Yeah.
Fred Astaire.
They're pretty good company.
Yeah. The Pope Benedict.
Any of them still alive?
I think they're all
I'm sure.
Both the Bushes, Senior and W.
What about Jeb?
Jeb's not on here at all.
He doesn't seem like Colonel material.
Lloyd Bridges.
I like Lloyd Bridges. He was an airplane man, wasn't he?
Jimmy Kahn. James Kahn.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter.
There's a lot of colonels.
George Clooney. Bill Clinton.
Wow. Lots of presidents on here.
I know. Billy
Ray
Cyrus.
This is a pretty good... Billy Ray. He lost me on that one.
Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp's a Kentucky Colonel.
Yeah. Maybe he acted like one or something.
Jeff Foxworthy. That one seems...
I can see him.
Yeah. Clark Gable.
It's a pretty good list.
I got to get you on this list.
And Malcolm Reed.
Who's that guy?
Who's that guy? The guy from Star Trek? The Next Generation? Never knew he was into bourbon.
There's a Malcolm. That's a joke. There's a Malcolm Reed that's famous from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like if you look it up with
I'm sure
the
that
L.
guy hates me. It's like nobody can find him on Google. Used to be when you Google, like when I first, like this is 20 years ago, I Google myself, it'd be the Star Trek guy. And now it's like he's way down, like page 8. I done bumped him to like page 8 on Google.
You think he gets tired of people being like, hey man, what's that recipe for AP?
Probably hates barbecue.
Yeah. I am not a turkey hotline.
If for some reason you listen to this podcast, shoot us an email. We'll get you in.
Yeah.
So
as my duties of Kentucky Colonel, when do I get to have my first soiree?
I don't know. You know I'm a love a good soiree.
Yeah. I got to get me a coat. Have you seen the Colonel coats they get done with the things on the shoulders and everything? Oh, it's a thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a Colonel jacket. Not a white one either. Like the white one's like the dress soiree.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the official one. It's like a navy jacket.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get it.
I call my tailor.
I was going to tell you this when we had the event and you were officially presented as a Kentucky Colonel. You kind of made a joke about, what are you? Oh, yeah, that's right. You're the general. And everybody laughed. And that's when I realized, like, I know I have the reputation as the general around the office, but people I do not know.
Think you're the general? You're the general.
I also think I'm a general.
It's hard being right all the time, isn't it? That's a big burden to bear, Shell. You're right all the time. I'll testify to that. Don't ask me. Ask Shell. She knows what's right. She's how to everything else right. How to everything right. I just do barbecue.
I know you're making fun of me, but I still enjoy it.
I still enjoy it.
We need to get you a shirt that says how to everything else. I love that.
Yeah,
that's great.
How to everything else right.
So, did you check out the community page lately?
I did. Well, not since I was in Texas. I didn't have internet. Yeah. But I tell you what, the coolest thing that I saw, did y'all see the rabbit stuffed with like apples and onions and wrapped in bacon?
You have some rabbits in the freezer.
I know. That's what I was thinking. I'd have never thought you could do them like that.
Yeah.
I've only quartered them up and like made rabbit and dumplings or stew or something.
I've never had rabbit before. Oh, what's it taste
good.
like?
Chicken.
Yeah.
No.
I like it.
Tastes like what you put on it. It don't really have a. You wouldn't taste like a piece of meat cooked and say, "Oh, that's rabbit."
Yeah.
No, it just tastes like what you think it would taste like.
Every time I've ever had it, it was either in dumplings.
It's a little hoppy.
Yeah.
It's a little hoppy. Do you like IPAs? You might like rabbit.
I just got the joke.
It's not even a good joke. It needs a behind it. So I saw somebody using cinnamon rolls and chili.
Yeah, I told y'all that was on there. It's not just the Arkansas thing. And you know who I think somebody shared that, but the original post of it was Alton Brown. And he was in, was it Nebraska or Iowa or somewhere? And they were taking, it looked like a Wendy's cup of chili, but it was some restaurant there had a cinnamon roll, and I've never seen that. Like when we had it, growing up, the ladies' auxiliary always did these chili dinners, and half the ladies would make pans of cinnamon rolls and like yeast rolls. I'm talking about there would be the
good stuff.
They would let the bread rise, and then they roll it out on a table like this, and they'd have all that butter and cinnamon and sugar, spread it all on it, and roll it all up, and then they were these. They might not have been Texas side; they were Arkansas side cinnamon rolls, but they were awesome, and they let them rise a little bit and bake them. But they'd make these big pots of chili, and you would get a bowl of chili and a cinnamon roll on the side. And there was something about. So you just took
a bite here and
you could eat it after. You could eat your cinnamon roll first, and then there wasn't no directions. Yeah. But I never saw one person dump the chili over the cinnamon roll. Not saying it's wrong, but of course they'd have crackers and stuff to go with chili. But I don't know if the cinnamon roll was supposed to be a dessert. But when you think about it, that cinnamon flavor goes a little sweet goes with chili.
It really does.
Because chili, has different complex flavors. There's even some people that put like cocoa in their chili to give it a depth of flavor. So it goes with it. So I would try next time I do chili. I'm gonna get me a warm cinnamon roll from like donut place in town. Spoon some chili over and see how it is.
I've never had cinnamon rolls and chili.
Would you try it?
Heck yeah, I'm down. I'll try anything once. I saw somebody doing pimento cheese and chili.
Now I could see that.
I love that idea.
Homemade pimento cheese, little blue plate action in it.
Yeah.
The white. What if you did the white jalapeno pimento cheese?
That might be.
And then topped it in the chili because it's going to get creamy. It's going to make your chili cream. Because I always put cheese and sour cream on my chili anyway.
Yeah.
I like it like that. So you could do like what if you did a cilantro jalapeno pimento cheese? Don't even use pimento. What would it be called then?
That would be good.
Don't put pimentos in it.
Just make it cilantro-y. Maybe some jalapenos.
Yeah, and mix it all up and make your cheese like that for your chili cheese.
Oh, that's a
chili
good
cheese
idea.
spread or whatever.
See, I just saw people putting straight up dollops of mayonnaise in it instead of sour cream.
I like that.
Saw people. Look, I've never seen nothing like that in my life.
No.
So I was like, you want sour cream, cheese, maybe a little? No, just just give me the jar of blue plate, chili, maybe a few crackers.
You just smear it on your.
Oh yeah, then you have it as a
on
side.
your saltine.
Yeah, or you can do the squeeze bottle of blue plate, squeeze it on your crackers, and then spread it out.
I've seen that.
I'm not gonna lie, I tried it. It's good. It's good. What else? So what else did somebody? They had us put mayonnaise in. It was on cornbread. I'd never seen that before. We were at deer camp, and Mikey said, "I was like, you want some butter for your cornbread?" And he says, "No, get the mayonnaise." And I was like, "What? You put mayonnaise on cornbread?" Oh yeah, you bust a slice of cornbread open, like you cook it upon a cast iron skillet, cut it in triangles.
Well, it's still hot.
Bust that dude open. Instead of putting butter on it, put mayonnaise on it and top it back, and it melts. And it's oh man, it changed the way I've been eating cornbread wrong all my life. I've always put butter on it.
I've never tried that. I love cornbread, hot cornbread. Yeah. Not the one that's got the sweet flavor. It's got to be the almost bitter.
Yeah, you don't want the cornbread cake style.
Yeah, I like it.
My mom she always puts sugar in it.
She puts a little. Yeah, hers is more sweet. For balance. Yeah,
like a jalapeno cornbread. That's like like a savory, spicy one.
Little cheese in there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also saw somebody using Japanese barbecue sauce to marinate their.
I saw that post too. I thought that was a good idea. Like, Tyler, what's the name of that sauce?
No, not Kikkoman's. That's the other one.
No, it's
you're talking about the one that's got a white label
sauce. Yeah, they sell it at grocery stores now, but I think we got some bottles of it back there.
Jacob's looking it up.
Yeah, I forget what it's called, but anyway,
Hawkins.
That's it. That's it. They use that. I'm assuming that because it said Japanese barbecue sauce. I'm assuming they marinated flats and drums in it, and then seasoned it with barbecue rub. It said
they said they had their own rub,
and then vortexed it. And man, those wings looked good. Like I could see an Asian wing like that having those flavors being that's a great idea.
I like Asian.
And then you don't toss them in sauce because it already has that. I mean, it's gonna have that soy sauce, ginger, all those flavors, from that Japanese. That's some good sauce.
I love that barbecue sauce.
I like the one with the green label though. I'm not sure which one that is. But
yeah,
that's my favorite one. I like it over the regular.
Have y'all ever had like chili oil at an Asian restaurant?
Oh yeah,
that would probably get dipped in the.
I like the Thai chili oils where they give you it's like a little carousel of Thai. It's like
it gets
chili
increasingly painful.
You got to watch each side. One of them's like the super hot, nothing but little Szechuan or Thai chilies ground up. We had some little, I think they're called chili piquins, but they're like little bitty bird peppers, and I guess they call them bird peppers because birds eat them and then poop, and they grow on like fence lines where birds sit.
Yeah,
but they're like these little round. They almost look like berries, but it's
they're peppers,
and they dry them out, and you like surprise people by crushing them up and putting them in stuff, or just leaving them whole and not digging them out.
Are they hot?
Oh, they're super hot, or to me they're super hot.
Yeah,
but they got a lot of flavor. That's why they're good. So we were cutting just a little bit of it and putting it in some of the pozoles, and it was just really, really good.
I'm surprised birds eat those. I wonder if it's like they think it's a berry or something.
Oh, they say you don't want to eat a turkey that's been eaten on them.
Oh, really?
That's what they said, man. Yeah. They grow wild out there.
Yeah.
Some certain parts of Texas.
I wonder.
I guess
birds don't have.
I guess they have heat
taste buds. Yeah.
I don't know. They must like them. Maybe they're sweet when they're young or something. Yeah.
I also saw somebody did smoked turkey pies with their leftover turkey.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Did you see those?
Man, yeah. Oh, it looked like it was cooked in a pie plate, right? And it was all brown and stuff on top. Yeah. I've never had turkey pie that looked that good. Ours was always in a big casserole dish with like
dumplings on top.
Dumplings on top. I hadn't had turkey pot pie in so long. That was one of the better things. I liked about leftovers at Thanksgiving.
I love pot pies, man.
Yeah.
The best.
Do you ever do those frozen pot pies?
I used to.
Grew up on them.
I did too. We figured out how to cook them in the microwave and then put them in the broiler to get the top brown.
So what would you do?
Because
they take like 45 minutes.
I was going to say, have you ever cooked a real pot pie in the oven? It's like 45
Even the little
minutes.
ones, yeah.
I hated waiting that long. So we would put it like in a little bowl, like a Corningware bowl or whatever, something that's microwave, that takes some heat in the microwave, 7 minutes, and it comes out. But if you eat it right then, it's all doughy and stuff. But you can take that Corningware and go in the oven on broil, and it browns and gets the top crunchy. So the bottom crust is still kind of soggy, but it's soggy in the little tin anyway.
Yeah.
Did y'all grow up having those little tins everywhere?
Yeah.
Pot pie tins? Mm-hmm. My granny used them for everything. I'll just get that's what we played with.
That's how you fed the cat.
Yeah, that's how you fed the cat. Oh yeah. Pot pie tins. They still sell those?
I think they come in it's a cardboard kind of something.
Yeah. I think they cut, like last time I had one, it didn't even have I was upset because it didn't have the bottom crust.
Yeah.
It was just a top crust with all the stuff. And I was like, man, they rip it. I guess that's how they're still selling them cheap.
Yeah.
Used to, you get them for like a quarter.
Yeah, you bought a bunch.
Yeah, we had those and the Tony's or Totito's pizza, the little $4 for $1 pizzas back in the day.
I lived off of those in college. Yeah.
Pot pies and frozen pizzas.
French bread pizzas
and burritos.
Yeah.
I never liked the pot pies. They took too long to cook.
Let's learn the microwave trick.
I did. I will say that they were hard to heat up. Like I remember it was you either went from frozen to like boiling hot. There was really no in between.
Yeah, then you had to let them cool off before you could eat them.
Oh yeah, man, you never had.
It was an hour commitment.
Roof of your tongue, roof of your mouth scalded off with hot turkey pot pie. Those things would be so hot. There's we had beef, chicken, and turkey. That was the three. I think we always ate the turkey light. Beef would go first.
Yeah,
that was the first one. But then you do chicken, and then turkey would be left.
One other thing that I wanted to see, you remember, it was a guy named Jonathan, and he had built something he called the Conan the Barbarian, and it was a barbecue spit turner.
Oh, with the wood and the big gears and all that.
Yeah, it was out in Montana.
Yeah, okay.
And he was going to butterfly a whole bison and cook it.
Did he do it?
I don't know. I just commented on his post. So
what's up with that?
What's up with that? I need updates.
He's probably got 6 foot of snow now. It's like we're not. We're going to do that in the summer.
We're going to have to
They've only got like a month or two up there where they can do stuff like that. No, I definitely want to see that. That was a cool. It was looked like a Lincoln log experiment or something.
It did.
Yeah.
It was really pretty.
It was big. Yeah, big wood posts and had these gears to turn. Can you imagine cooking like a buffalo on that thing?
The thing is, somebody's got to be moving it the whole time. You know?
They've got to have.
Talking about tending a fire.
It's got to have some gear reduction or something that's easy to turn or something. But you can't spin a buffalo that fast. You know, you just could. I don't think you can do it.
But this will be our last podcast for the year. 2020.
This is how many do we do this year? Does anybody know?
40. This is 40.
Number 4. Wow, that's probably the most we've ever made through a season.
Probably.
It's 40 hours.
At least since I've been here,
yeah.
40 hours.
40 hours of talking on the podcast.
Wow.
It's been a good year. We need to do a year wrap, like Tyler. Are you going to get that working?
Yeah. I think actually, so I got one for Buck Junkies that was like, it showed us all our top fans and stuff. So one of y'all should have the Spotify one for How to Barbecue Right podcast. And we can share.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Not to share that.
Oh, yeah, I got you. Yeah, I was thinking like the best moments.
Best
moments of season. What season is this? 6?
Season 5.
Oh, season 5. Okay.
And Jacob's got that in the works right now.
Does he? Okay. Good deal.
So
that's a bit cool. This will be like a highlight.
Yeah, highlight reel.
Should come out like right next, close to like New Year's.
Best of Blue Plate segments. We can just put a clip together.
Blue Plate highlight reel.
Hey, it paid off.
It did. We want to thank Blue Plate Mayonnaise for coming on board with the How to Barbecue Right spot. They were on board the last, would you say, quarter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Q4.
From October to the end of the year. And maybe they'll be back next year. We'll see.
So what do you got planned for Christmas?
Duck hunting. I've killed I guess 3 deer. One of them was a fallow, and I've killed a doe, so I've got a lot of deer meat today. I'm going to make it. I've got my mom and dad slaughtered a hog, so she's bringing me. Hey, Sadie, she's bringing me a bunch of pork fat, and I'm going to make some summer sausage a bunch of different ways and try some recipes. I got an idea for a product to come out, like my summer sausage mix, and I want to see like with the high heat cheese and the dehydrated jalapenos and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go into like sausage making. I'm going to be cooking some Wildgame stuff, working on some recipes. Of course, we'll cook some stuff at the house for Christmas. We always, do.
You got anything on? We were talking about it today. We have no plan. No.
I don't have a plan, but I love doing my beef tenderloin and pork tenderloins for Christmas. So we might have fallow deer, the backstrap. Slip that in on everybody. I don't know if everybody like it. But.
What's the one thing? What's the one food item you looking the most forward to at Christmas? Do you have anything in mind? I'm looking forward to I have not done this yet, but I like your sausage ball recipe.
Oh yeah, that's good.
It's probably the best sausage ball recipe I've ever done.
2 things just jumped in my mind.
All right.
Breakfast casserole for Christmas morning. I hadn't had that probably since last Christmas. Yeah. And then party mix or trash.
I hadn't even thought about that.
God, I love trash. Do y'all like it's Chex Mix? When we make it homemade, we make it spicy and a lot of Worcestershire in it. And
we do like a sweet Chex Mix. I don't think I've ever done a spicy one though.
Oh yeah,
really? This one's like real Worcestershire and spicy.
Yeah. It has the little Melba toast in it and pecans and all that stuff. That. I know surely you've had that before.
I ate an unhealthily amount of Shell's spinach dip the other day.
Which one?
Last week, Tyler said he'd never had the cold.
So. That's great.
Hawaiian.
I told you that before I left out of town. Tyler said he never had that.
And I made it and brought it to work.
With the bread and everything?
Yeah.
Yep.
What was the verdict?
It's so good.
Did you never have that for real?
Never. That was definitely the first time, and I did not have any.
So what do you do it with the Hawaiian roll too? Yeah.
So what do you like better? Hot spinach and artichoke dip or cold spinach dip now that you've had it?
That's really hard.
I know, they're equal.
Did you make
They're kind of different, but that's definitely a contender for top.
So explain what you're talking about when you say cold spinach dip.
It's a Norse vegetable soup mix.
Comes in a little green and yellow box, packet.
They're everywhere this time of year. 16 ounces of sour cream, a pack of frozen spinach, which I heat mine up, almost cook my spinach beforehand.
No blue plate?
A cup of blue plate mayonnaise and some green onions. And I think that's it.
Wow.
And then you let it sit though, right?
Yeah, the key is you got to let it sit overnight.
That's crazy. Yeah, it was so good. Like I gave some to my wife and she loved it as well. Yeah. So.
Well, awesome.
Your dog's out
of control.
Yeah,
hold on, my dog's out of control.
Here's some wires acting away.
I hear my wires pulling. It's like, what's my dog doing? No, but I love that spinach dip too, and it's all. From when I remember it, they used to put water chestnuts in it. Never was crazy about it because it gives it like this weird crunch.
Yeah,
you can. That's optional. I say leave it out.
They're so tasteless to me.
But did you do it where you buy the Hawaiian bread bowl?
I don't think
because that was the first.
Anymore.
Surely they do.
I haven't seen them in years.
Really, that was the only product. That's how I knew King's Hawaiian. Was this? Do you remember that, Tyler? It was a bowl. It was like a round loaf, like kind of ball, and you would take and hollow out the center of it, mix that dip up, set it overnight, then scoop it all out in the center of that bowl, and you would save all the little pieces you tore out, and that's how people ate it. You'd get some of that, spoon of that, and you'd eat it with it, and that was spinach dip.
Yeah,
I had that. I remember having that spinach dip before the spinach artichoke appetizer dip was ever a thing.
Yeah, I mean, that was a thing. We just didn't know about it, I guess.
These were just slider rolls that I just kept breaking apart, getting the scoop, and I went back for seconds.
They're great with corn chips. They're great with tortilla chips. It's great with crackers.
Yeah,
you can even dip celery and carrots in it if you want to stay healthy.
Yeah,
as healthy as the sour cream. The blue plate's healthy.
Yeah,
it's keto.
Actually,
it is keto. I think.
It's my excuse.
Well, that about wraps us up today.
Yeah, well, hey, Tyler, while we're gone, tell everybody where they can catch up, find all the episodes and everything else.
Hey, guys, here's a quick tip for you guys. We will be having episodes of the Buck Junkies podcast featured over on the Buck Junkies podcast channel over on YouTube, so you can catch up with what Malcolm's up to until then. But in the meantime, you can go to HowToBBQRight.com for all of Malcolm's favorite recipes, find tons of stuff to cook for this Christmas to wow everybody at the party, and then go hang out on the Let's Get to Cooking page and let us see all those delicious holiday recipes that you guys had coming out.
Definitely post up all that Christmas cooking. We'd love to see that.
Heck yeah, it's inspiring.
Yeah.
I want to do those wings now.
Shell, where can they find us on all the social sites?
If you'd like to connect with Malcolm, it's HowToBBQRight on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and of course YouTube. If you'd like to connect with me, it's Miss Southern Shell on Instagram. And have a very, very, very Merry Christmas.
That's right.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.
And a very Happy New Year. And here's to 2023.
Here's to 2023. We're blowing 22 out, right? No, we appreciate everybody hanging out with us this year, tuning in and listening. Yeah. And y'all, we will be back next year after a short break.
Season 6, baby.
Season 6 kicking off. Might have a new podcast studio. I don't know. Tyler's wanting to redecorate, so we'll see how that goes. But until then, like Shell said, hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We gone.